Welcome back to the Life of an Average Show podcast, guys. This has been a day. I don't know if I should do this episode or not. Because there's been a lot of things going on. There's been a lot. I'm going to start off being serious, not to say that that we don't have serious. This isn't a fun topic, but it's not a serious topic. But I'm going to start off being serious because I got a text message today. I was driving home. First and foremost, for those of you guys that don't know, I moved my locations. I moved stores. Okay. Not by choice. It's just the way the business is. And it's not a bad thing. It's a great opportunity, great challenge. Get to see some familiar faces that I've worked with before, that I'm close with, and I'm excited about. So that started Monday. So there's a lot. Acclimating, meeting new people, and seeing a lot of familiar faces, but also planning. I want to go in with a bang. I've got some work to do. I've got some things to do. I got to get it in. Cool. Started working out again after the big decline, which was a big success. This is the first podcast I've had since a big decline. So, what was it? 18 minutes, 45 seconds, 16.3 seconds per flight. Not bad for a 46-year-old dude. I didn't work out Sunday. Monday, I did very little. Worked out Tuesday morning, worked out Wednesday. My cat was yelling. So I'm getting back into a different style of workout because I don't need to worry about the stairs anymore. Not to say that I won't do it. I like doing that. I still do the weights, legs and all that, but I was very much focused on the big decline. I still need to shed about 8 more pounds. That's my goal. I hit 13, so I think if I can do 8 more, 5 to 8 more, right? That's the range. But I'm experiencing some weird pain on my side that has me freaking out, thinking it's kidney stones again, but it's not. It's like right here, guys. I don't know if you guys are watching. If you're listening, it's like my upper. It's kind of by the appendix, but when I looked like where the appendix pain would come in from like appendicitis and all that, it's not there. It's here, and it's sensitive to touch. It hurts a little bit, not a lot, but it's uncomfortable. But I was uncomfortable like that for weeks, and then I found out I got kidney stones. So I'm making an appointment with the doctor. I'm drinking a ton of water. I got to get a new one. Back to dieting right and all that. I'm hoping and that it's nothing. But anyway, I'm driving home, and it's a longer drive home. Before I get into my podcast, I have to talk about this. I'm driving home, and it's a longer drive home than usual. And I've been blessed over the years. So sitting in traffic has not been a thing, but now it's a thing. So, and I get a text message from a good friend of mine, and it's not unusual to get a text message from a good friend, but I read the first line and I was like, this is important. And so I pulled over and I read it. And his mom passed away. Out of nowhere. Not much details. I'm not going to dive into any more. I'm respecting privacy. But, man, it hit me. And the reason it hit me is because they are my family. And we move on. Like, we hear these things and we move on into our own lives and what we have going on with work and with me, with Luke, and my own little pain and recording. But it's important that we take a minute to embrace it and give this moment the respect it deserves. And man, it hit. because they're my family. We got a lot of history. They take care of me a lot. I lived with them for a while. And even when I was a pain in the butt, she was like my mom, you know? I had my mom, so I'm not taking anything away from her. But she was like my mom. And she just knew who I was, you know? So it makes me sad. Makes me sad because I can't get up there and be there for them. Makes me sad in general. Makes me sad for him. Makes me sad for his brothers and sisters. His dad. And I've known these people ever since I was in like 6th, 7th grade. So that happened today. Life is wild and not nice all the time. But it kind of put me in a funk. Put me in a little bit of a funk. So I said, okay, I'm still going to do this podcast on villains because you know what? I still think I could be entering my villain era at work, to be honest with you. I still think that out of these great challenges and opportunities, I could still potentially be entering my villain era. I'm wearing my hoodie. You guys see that? My data, my choice. Zhao Heng Shu, TikTok, baby, red note all day. You can buy it on TikTok. I got a link on my thing. You can click on it on my profile, click on it, buy that sweatshirt or t-shirt. My data, my choice as we approach the end of TikTok again. So I started thinking about that in my villain era, and I'm wearing this because it's stupid that we're going through this again. It's like a child of divorce. It's like we were in a relationship, we broke up, we got back together, and then they threaten to break up with us again unless we do this. It's ridiculous. So take the app away. I don't care. Playing games with me. So now it's time to talk about the villains, right? Because I'm in my villain era. And I was thinking, I was having a conversation with my buddy, what makes a good villain, right? Like, think about it. You know, we think villains, a lot of us, or at least us nerds, we think villains and we think, let me adjust these. We think villains and we think comic books, right? At least I do. I don't know about you guys, but that's what I do. You know, Star Wars, you know, the franchises. But villains are really everywhere. I mean, let's look back at the movie Titanic. You know, that the long movie Titanic. Look at Billy Zane's character. He was a villain, right? He had this girlfriend. I don't think that was his wife. I think it was his girlfriend. Maybe it was his wife. I don't remember. Kate Winslet, you know, Leo's chick. He should have left. Leo should have let Billy have her, but whatever. And he was a villain. He treated Leo like crap because he was poor. He had money. He was snobby. And then ultimately, even as the ship is going down, he's trying to kill him. He's trying to shoot him. The entire Titanic is sinking, and Billy Zane's character is trying to kill him. That's a villain in a realistic movie, right? Was he a good villain? Well, Billy Zane plays a jerk very well. He might be one in real life. I don't know. I don't know Billy. I'm just saying. But he was a rich, pompous, snobby jerk. Like, there's not much depth there. There's no relatability except if you peel back the layers, the relatability is he took my girl, somebody that I don't view as an equal, that I view lesser than me, took my girl. We can relate to that, right? I think that the majority of us, men and women, have been in a relationship or have had a crush on somebody or been interested in somebody, and you've never you've lost that person or you didn't progress in that relationship and somebody else got him, right? It makes sense. I'm gonna adjust my mic, guys. It makes sense. So you can relate that way. And that's what's great about a good villain is finding the relatability. How can I relate to this person? I don't have to like them. I don't have to want to be them, and I don't have to even been through all their circumstances in life, but how do I relate to this person? Well, that's simple. So that's good. And there's different levels of villains and bad guys. And I also think that a bad guy is different than a villain, and I'll tell you why. A bad guy can do something bad. He is a bad guy in that movie. He is the opposing general of an army. We don't know his personal life. We don't know anything. He's just on the other side of the battlefield. He's a bad guy, Sergeant Bad Guy. But in reality, he could just be sticking up for what he believes in. He might be a great father, but he's a bad guy. A villain, though, has these pure layers to it, right? This depth. And some of that depth is relatable, believable, and it almost gets you questioning what side of the fence you're on. And there's almost a bit of like sorrow or empathy for some bad guys or villains. And you look at it, I mean, let's go to Top Gun, R.I.P. Val Kilmer. Let's look at Iceman. He was bad, right? He was the bad guy. He was the bad guy of the film. Come full circle, it's the new Top Gun, Maverick. They're connected. They got respect for each other. So he's really not a bad guy. He's just an arrogant prick, right? But you look at villains, and there's different levels. There's good guys turn villain. They entered the villain era. There's the pure evil of villains. You know, think about horror movies, right? Like, think about the Conjuring series, demonic forces, you know, from the layers of hell. They don't really have a purpose except for to destroy, to take over, to possess, to wreak havoc on the earth. There's no depth. They might look at some of those as the Conjuring movies have went on. They peeled back the layers of the demons, like the nun. You know, they peeled back what that nun was for real. But ultimately, pure evil. That's it. They're a big villain. They're pure evil. I can't relate to it. It's a demon that I don't want to be part of. I haven't been to hell, thank God. Don't plan on going, thank God. Knock on wood. Come on, God. Can't relate to it, but it's scary. It serves a purpose. It's pure evil and chaos done. And I think those are necessary sometimes. I do. They don't necessarily make interesting villains, or they don't necessarily make villains that we talk about. We talk about the total movie, the spectacle of The Conjuring. That's one thing. And then you look at like Pennywise. Pennywise is a really interesting character beyond the clown because it's so much more. It's not the clown. It feeds on fear. It's been around forever. It came to this earth from another planet. There's so many layers to what Pennywise is that not only does it make a great, scary movie, but a great villain. Now, I can't relate to that, but we can relate to that character because we've all been afraid of something. So it affects us. It scares us and it affects us. It's a good villain. It's a little bit more depth to it than just the demons from The Conjuring. But then you look at like Count Dracula, you know, one of the most infamous, and I'm not talking about the real Count Dracula. You look at the vampire Count Dracula, one of the most infamous characters in history. Despite the horrible things that he does in most of the versions, he's relatable. This is a guy that lost the woman he loves. He lost her. He can't get her back. He had a life and he lost her. And he lost all faith in humanity and God. And during a moment of sorrow and pain, cursed out and was turned into this creature. And now he's forced to sleep during the day, to have this ultimate lust and hunger, until he sees somebody that reminds him of the woman that he loved. And now he wants her to be with him forever, but he's still balancing out that evil. That's relatable. Not the blood sucking, sleeping in a coffin. Losing someone you love that you've like dedicated your entire life to and you love and you lost them. God, my back hurts. This side hurts. I need to go to the doctor, dude. I am scared that this is kidney stones again. And it freaks me out. Oh my God. Because I cannot deal with that again, dude. But I cannot. I don't want to. And now I'm stressing out. But you can relate to it because you've lost something, and then you get in a moment of anger. You're like, "What do I do? Curse you! Life sucks," and whatever. And usually that moment of anger and frustration and desperation causes you to do something stupid. So you can relate to it to a degree. That makes a really good character. But let's look at some of the villains of all time. I mean, Darth Vader, probably one of the greatest villains ever and greatest story arcs, but we forget a couple things: where he came from and how he got there. We see little Anakin Skywalker. Doesn't know his dad. Is a slave. His mom's a slave. She's the only one that takes care of him. He's got a few friends. He's trapped on this planet, Tatooine. But he's got other things that are circling in his head. And he's got something that's going to take him beyond the stars. He's just a kid. And as he witnesses and grows up and witnesses these things, he witnesses the people that were there to protect him die. He witnesses the girl he loves maybe reject him because he's young, because she's this. He witnesses all these things from a young kid's perspective, people rejecting him, and he just got his freedom. Starts to kind of create this attitude. And then as he gets older and he's finally being trained as a Jedi, he feels like everybody's against him. He loses his mother. There's nobody there. Yes, Qui-Gon died. Obi-Wan was training him, and he loved Obi-Wan. But in the same sense, he had all these other things going on that weren't addressed. We start to see the developing of some potential problems, some anger issues, things like that. And then he's corrupted by the dark side. And he puts his faith, which came from a good place, into somebody that was going to manipulate him. And he turns into Vader. One of the greatest story arcs in character history. But let's not forget what he did. We can relate to him because of the loss of love, because of feeling let down, like not supported. Your parents die. You have nobody. Like, there's a lot of things that we can relate to. Believing in something that isn't real, believing in somebody that isn't real. We can't forget what he did. Dude, he killed everybody. Not only did he kill everybody, he killed a bunch of kids. Like that movie where he's like, "Oh man, I want to be good again. Let me kill the Emperor." That's great. We appreciate you. But bro, you slaughtered children. You were a terrifying individual. We can't forget that. That's a great villain. There's a lot of relatability. And there's moments where you don't like him, but you want to like him, but you don't. Whereas Emperor Palpatine, there's nothing to like about him. He is manipulating from day one. He's pure evil. We see that, but we see how good he is at manipulating and turning people to the dark side. Other people can relate to that conversation. But then you have another big character. You have Thanos, the biggest villain in the MCU to date. Let's be real. The Mad King, the Mad Titan. He was right. His idea that he presented on Titan was, look, if we have less people, we'll be able to survive because the resources can continue to feed us and we can grow with the people we have. So either we all die or we sacrifice half of the population randomly. That's insane, right? But the concept comes from a good spot. And then they didn't do it, and his whole planet dies, right? So he goes through the galaxy without anybody, except for his kidnapped daughter and his daughter he made, and a bunch of really sick, sadistic people that are scared of him but follow him. So essentially, he's alone. And he says, "Look, if I don't do something, if I don't continue to go down this path and destroy half the life out there, everybody's going to die. We'll have nobody. So I got to do it." If you look at what he did in the movie, they had 5 years, was it? 5 years of peace after he snapped, after he went away. No bad guys, no extraterrestrial beings trying to take over, nothing insane, peace. And then they killed him, brought everybody back, and now look at it. It's chaos. I'm not saying that he was right in the way he did it, but I am saying there's some believability there. There's some relatability. Thanos was right. Was Thanos likable? Not really. Did he disappear after he snapped his fingers? Yeah, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. I'm going to go sit and be a farmer. I'm not going to bother anybody anymore. And he probably wouldn't have. The world was thriving, allegedly. That's a great character. It's a great villain because you start to really break down the dialogue and the meaning and his motivation. And you start to look at it and go, well, I mean, I get it. I don't. And that's what makes a really interesting villain. I mean, the Joker, one of the best comic book villains ever. And we've seen so many different versions of him across the movies. Most of them are good, except for Jared Leto's. That was garbage because it was just stupid. Didn't need to be in the film. We don't have a lot. Like, it's weird because the Joker, and I'm not going to dive into the history of the Joker, but if you look at the story behind the Joker, there's origin story, kind of, origin story not. Like, look at the Michael Keaton Batman movie with Jack Nicholson. Kind of an origin story there. It kind of took a little bit here, a little bit there. Crazy, right? But he was crazy because he was just a thug to begin with. He got betrayed, got tossed in chemicals, jacked with his brain. Do you blame him for being that crazy, or did it just elevate what he already was? Look at Heath Ledger's Joker, one of the greatest out there, mind you. Scary. Utterly terrifying. Psychopath. Not much reasoning with him, but he did have a game. And he had a goal and a mission behind his game. As you're getting ready to blow up the boats, what makes the prisoners any less important than the innocent people? They're people, and there are people on that boat, and there's innocent people on this prison boat. The guards didn't do anything. There are prisoners that are innocent. They didn't do anything, but they're on the boat. But there are jerks on this boat. Yes, they're innocent people, quote unquote, but there are people that have done some sick things and never been caught. How do you justify killing one or the other? He was proving a point. I'm not saying that that he ever needed to be in the situation to prove that point, but he was proving a point. It was chaos. The world was chaos. How do you balance it out? You can relate to that conversation. How do we justify one life over another? How do we justify the killing of dangerous people by the killing of innocent people? If an innocent person flicks the switch on an electric chair of a murderer, that person still is a murderer. We just call it legal. You know, it brought up a lot of topics. It brought up a lot of conversations. It touched a lot of nerves. The Joker is interesting every way. And then he's had moments where he's like, I'm not going to kill Batman right now. I just want to go home. There are moments in the comic books where the Joker is tired of doing this. And he just puts his gun away and walks away. And that opens up a whole new thing of the Joker's psyche. The Joker's written great in all of the ways they've done the Joker. It's really interesting. They've done it very well. And you look at other movies, look at the Disney films. A lot of the Disney characters, Cinderella, Wicked Stepmother, right? Wicked Stepmother. My cat just growled. Holy crap. My stomach just growled. Either that or he's about to let it rip. Wicked Stepmother. Nothing deep. Okay. You look at Mufasa. I just watched Mufasa. The animated live, whatever it's called. It's not live action. We're not using real lions, but you know what I'm saying. And I really didn't have a desire to watch it, to be honest. But it was on and it was new, and I thought I'd give it a shot. They kind of get into the history of how Mufasa became king and the relationship with Scar. You now have something to connect Scar as to why the way he is when we see him in The Lion King. It's not a question of did we need that or not. When we see The Lion King, we just assume he's just a jealous brother. We don't know how he got over there. We don't know what happened. Something made him that way. Very generic. We see Mufasa, we get into more details behind that, on how he became that way. Makes it a little more interesting. You can start to see the jealousy. You can start to see that he was not always that way, and that he entered his villain era, and his arc became his life. And you have those moments even down to the Predator. Okay, let's look at the Predator. The Predator is a villain in some films. But when you figure out what the Predator's doing, he doesn't kill kids. He doesn't just go around killing innocent people. He's hunting the greatest champions of them all. Okay, might not be cool, they're human, but he's hunting them. It's no different than we hunt, bears and things like that we shouldn't be hunting. I mean, there's a scene in the Predator 2 movie where a kid offers the Predator some candy. He doesn't shoot him, he just walks away. So now you're looking at it from a sport perspective and go, okay, I'm going to relate it to hunting, like humans hunting deer and all that. He's not killing innocents. He's got a code. You can relate even to the Predator when he's out there slaughtering everybody. Speaking of slaughtering, let's look at some of our slashers, right? Let's look at our slashers. Freddy Krueger, to me, might be one of the coolest written slasher horror icons. I'm not saying that I've enjoyed every single movie. I think they got a little too ridiculous, and not just the movies, but they leaned in too much of the humor that just wasn't funny. I like when Freddy borderlines on a serious level while still giving us some of that humor, because Freddy was a real person in real life who was a child predator. We're assuming there was some SA involved, and then the parents found that out and burned him alive and killed him. Relatability onto the parents, like human beings going, oh, we got to get rid of this guy. Not relatability to Freddy. That's not what I'm getting at. But the story, okay. Well, what happens if he doesn't die and the evil just brings him back and now he's haunting the dreams and feeding off fear and still going after kids and still trying to kill everybody and still being that pervert, because he is in those movies, and just killing people. It's not relatable like, oh, I can relate to that. You could see the story, though, of how, like, that's pure evil with a ton of layers to it. They did a great job, because not only did they make this guy evil in the dream world and in, his dreamland. He was evil in real life, if not even more evil in real life than he was in the dream. But now you take that persona that he was in real life and put it with the dream world. It's insane. Look at Jason. Yes, his mother was the killer. She was an overprotective mother, psycho. She has a special needs son. Saw him, got picked on. Her son drowned because of teenagers. She snapped. Cool story. Then what happens when Jason isn't dead? He comes back. He sees his dead mother. Now this kid who's been bullied all his life, he's a special needs kid. He's been picked on. And the people that picked on him and didn't pay attention to him killed his mother. Now what he's going to do? I'm going to kill them. Relatable. You saw your mother die, you snap. You saw your son die, you snap. I'm not saying it's acceptable. I'm just saying you don't cheer for it, but you understand the underlying tiny pieces. That's what makes a good villain. And there's a ton of good villains out there. I mean, in comic books and everything. All of Spider-Man's, a ton of Spider-Man's villains have really deep stories. Most comic book villains, for the most part, have a really cool story. Mr. Freeze, right? Mr. Freeze, amazing scientist. His wife gets a disease and dies, or she could die. So he freezes her in this chamber until he can find a cure. And he spends most of his time trying to find a cure. He needs money, so he's got to rob some banks. He does this. And so like the root cause of Mr. Freeze is, I want to save my wife. It's not that I'm born evil. I just want to save my wife. We can all relate to that. Imagine. Put yourself in those shoes. You want to save the person you love. Whether that be a kid, your wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend. You want to save the person you love. You might go to extreme lengths. And I think that is what makes these characters so interesting, is that we have these layers to them that make them beyond just, I'm going to kill you for the sake of it. And if they're done right, even if they're just pure evil, they can be written really well. Hannibal Lecter, right? We saw Hannibal Rising. It's a pretty cool movie. It's underrated. Guy who played Hannibal isn't great, but it gives us a story as to why he started eating people and how he snapped. And it came from love. It came from abuse. And so by the time we get to Silence of the Lambs, we have this really smart guy that we don't know the history, but he also has rules. He's not trying to kill everybody. He actually has admiration for some of them and even tries to save some of them in a twisted process way. There's a little bit of reasoning with Hannibal Lecter. You're not relating to him unless you know the story from Hannibal Rising. And then you're like, well, this dude flat out snapped. There was something inside his head. And then when he snapped, that trigger, boom. And now he's eating people. But I'm saying, like, what a well-written character. A villain for sure. Much more than Buffalo Bill, who was just making, like, clothes out of women's skin. There's nothing much relatable there. He's just a psychopath. You can relate. I think when you find these villains, look at The Sopranos, one of the best shows ever, despite the horrible ending that I still won't forgive. Bad guys, right? All bad guys. They do horrible things, but you kind of want to have some drinks with them. You kind of want to hang out on a barbecue and go out. They do horrible things, hanging with their family 1 minute, swimming in the pool with their kids. Next minute, they're curb stomping somebody at a strip club. But they gave layers to these bad guys, and there were villains within the bad guys. There were people that Johnny Sacks, you just could not stand Johnny Sacks. He was in the same level with them, but he was deeper. He was a rat. He wasn't a rat, but he didn't like his family. You didn't trust him. You're saying you don't trust him as you're watching Tony Soprano and the rest of the guys who lie, cheat, steal, cheat on their wives, murder, like everything. You're like, man, I trust them. I don't trust this Johnny Sack guy. That's good writing. And they made a villain within a bad group of guys. It's impressive. That's what we mean. You can't just be bad for the sake of being bad all the time. It gets boring. It does. You got to have some sort of relatability and some sort of connection to really deepen, like getting able to think as to why they're doing those things. That's what makes a good villain to me. And there's so many more. I could go down the list of villains. There's so many more, but just amazing. So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to go because I'm not, like, this chair's hurting me and I'm tired and I need to get out of this hoodie because it's hot all of a sudden. Ugh, miserable. I'm tired, guys. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Drop some villains. I know I missed a lot, so I don't want to hear like, oh, Brandon, you forgot this guy. Yeah, no kidding. Let me know who your favorite villains are. What do you think is a really good villain? What is a villain that you love watching but like you should hate? That's what I want to hear about. You can reach me at lifeofanaverageshowpodcast.com. You can hit me up on all the social media outfits, including TikTok, until who knows, the government gets rid of it again because they're freaking dumb. It's just a game. We're in this stupid divorce game right now with the government, and we've given them way too much power, and we've allowed them to slide way too much, and it's crap. So you can always find me on Zhao Hung Shu, and of course TikTok for now, and Instagram and YouTube. And best way is go to the podcast website, the Life of an Average Show podcast.com. I will catch you guys next week, and I'll be much more awake then and hopefully in a better mood. Until then, guys, be safe. Let me know who your villains are, and I'll see you on the flip. Boom. Later.